Oh, there she is. Good morning, one heart, one mind. Hi, Lisa. Saw you pop on.
Yay!
We can hear you.
Yes,
Yay.
yay, yay. Thank you, everybody who prayed for my computer and me.
You're welcome. You are welcome. I've got some music for us. Let me get it up here for us. Uh-oh, did I close my? No, I didn't. Silly me. This is going to require glasses. So I found this little or this lovely song by Amy Bishop, if you know who she is, and it's all about love. And I thought, well, what a delightful way to start us off talking about love. So, oh, I'm going to share my sound. It's just, actually, I'm going to do the advanced because it's not a video, so I don't need to. Oh, it's not even giving me that option. Well, it looks like we're just going to have it this way. All right. I'm on my new computer and it's a little bit different. Okay, here we go. Kind of low. Can
It's the
y'all hear it?
cry of a baby,
Okay.
the whisper in prayer, its voices and laughter. It's the wind in the stillness, the spaces between. It's a spark of fire. It's a seed, a flower, a butterfly's wing, a call and an answer. It's a breath, a stirring, the pulse in my veins, moves in as and through me. It's the truth, it's a knowing, it's our only design, eternally growing. It's peace, it's power, connects all to one, has no end, no beginning. It's receiving and giving. I release, I let go. Find shrugging a shoulder. Ooh, love, love,
Yep, that's it. Love. I like her. She's great. All right. Well, so I thought we'd kick it off with love. So a little love into our service here. And hello again. Oh, Rob is our practitioner of the day. You want to give us a few words, maybe a prayer, Rob?
Coming up.
Thank you.
Uh, Every week, Michelle sends us practitioners a one paragraph description of her speaking topic, and this week's paragraph includes this statement: wholeness is not determined by circumstances, achievements, or the absence of challenges. And I kept pondering this topic and writing down thoughts only to scuttle those thoughts and start over. As a result, I have precious little to offer. So this is going to be short, but here's what I got. Take in the 3-word sentence I'm about to say, which is, you are magnificent. Now, come up with the absolute biggest reason you can why that might not be true, why you might not be magnificent. It might be a bad habit you've got, or some failure to accomplish something, or any shortcoming you believe you have. Think of the absolute biggest reason why you might not be magnificent. Go ahead. I'll wait. Yeah, that one. Okay. Now, what I have to say to you is that whatever you came up with absolutely does not reduce your magnificence by even the slightest, smallest smidgen of a single percentage point. There is nothing that can reduce your magnificence. And whatever your current life situation is, what you might consider to be the good parts and the bad parts is perfect evidence of your magnificence, because the mere fact that you are a part of this group, which you know is devoted to the idea that you are immensely powerful, the mere fact that you are a part of this spiritual group means you are actually aware that you can reverse whatever it was that you thought was reducing your magnificence. And I get it that whatever fly in the ointment that you came up with has been with you for a long time. That's why it seems so discouraging. But here's the good news. You've got eternity to alter this, but it's not going to take you forever to fix it. If the problem is annoyingly persistent, then use your tools. And we got good tools. And when you do reverse that condition or memory or flaw, quote unquote, it will be fun. Every challenge results in a positive outcome. Every single one. And the fact that you created the seemingly defective situation to begin with is what made that fun possible. You couldn't be more perfect. Just saying. Let's pray. And as we sink into the warmth of God, into the delightful presence of God, into the delightful awareness of the certainty of God, into the love of God and the peace of God, as we sink into that, we relish what we have here in our group this morning. For each of us, the perfect challenges that make this life fun are always a part of our life and always improving our situation. The perfect challenges that we are feeling are always solvable, every single one of them. And just the fact that it takes longer to come up with a solution absolutely means that the satisfaction coming your way when it does resolve itself is even better than you ever could imagine. And I am so grateful that this is so. And I'm so grateful for this time together. This time when we can see each other's faces, we can appreciate what we have. We can appreciate our wonderful philosophy. We can appreciate our center and our grouping together and our common beliefs that in which we find the solace and the warmth and the satisfaction and the certainty that life is always getting better. I am so grateful that this is true. I am grateful that Michelle is blessed. She is blessed with the insights that we need and the ability to communicate them in such a way that our lives become better. Thank you, God. Thank you for all of this. Thank you for this time together. I release my word, and together we say, and so it is. And with luck, and there it is, July's affirmation. There is one infinite life expressing itself as all that I am. I am a perfect and complete expression of that life. I am whole now and always. Grateful for this truth, I walk through this day in peace, love, and joyful expectancy. And so it is.
That was perfect. You nailed what I'm talking about today. You know, and that always blows me away. It's like, you know, once in a blue moon, I'll remember to text you or tell you where I ended up, where I landed when I was working on my talk. More often than not, I forget, which was this week. And you still tuned right in and spoke exactly to what I'm going to talk about today. So that is just wholeness, oneness, whatever we want to call it. So I have a video to share with you. And since I have my computer all dialed in, I don't think we're going to have any trouble at all sharing this with you. This is Peter Mayer, and I love this song. And this is really part of what we're talking about today. So here we go.
You can say that you stand apart, put a fence around your yard. You can build a tall rampart, guard it with a gun. You can dig yourself a moat, burn the bridge and burn the boat. It won't matter that much, you know, 'cause all the world is one. All the world is one. You can march in a big parade every Independence Day. You can raise up your own flag, sing your own anthem. It'll ring out in the air with the other anthems there. To the winds of the earth declare, all the world is one. All the world is one. Go and ask the Buddha when he's sitting under the tree. Go ask Walt Whitman when he's looking out at the sea. Ask Alan Shepard when he's standing up on the moon, staring at that pearl of blue. Ask an atom in the breath you take. Ask the water by the riverbank. Ask a strand of DNA that's written in your blood. One life running in your veins, one life from one big bang. You can try and separate it, but all the world is one. All the world is one. Go and ask the Buddha when he's sitting under the tree. Ask Annie Dillard when she's up on Tinker Creek. Ask Alan Shepard when he's standing up on the moon, staring at that pearl of blue. Take an outbound train, try to make a getaway. You can ride off like John Wayne to the setting sun. The earthlings don't leave town, they just go round and round until they figure out all the world is one. All the world is one. All world is one.
All the world is one. You can't get better than that, right? And that's what we're talking about. Wholeness, oneness, really kind of the same thing, right? I saw that and I thought, oh, I gotta share that one today. Oh, my friends, so good to be here. Good morning, One Heart, One Mind Center for Spiritual Living on this really glorious, and I don't know, I was talking to the people that were on the call earlier. It rained at our house. It might have rained at Gisela. Gisela is not too far from me. I don't know. Did you catch some rain, Gisela? I can't, I've got it on this other setting, so I can't see your face. Anyway, it was warm and wet here. And I hope that wherever you are, it's comfortable and nice too. And this is our last Sunday in July. And so whether you're here in the Zoom room right now or in real time or you're listening to the replay, I'm just really grateful that you're connecting with us. And as Rob said, today we're winding up our month-long focus on wholeness. And I could kind of relate to Rob said because as I was thinking about what am I going to say, I've had 3 weeks of talking about wholeness. Haven't I already said everything there is to say about wholeness? So, but that was a good thought because then what happened is I really had to pause and I had to go a little deeper. I really had to think about, well, what does wholeness really mean? Well, it's the nature of the universe, the whole of life, the purpose and the cause of everything that exists. Surely I can come up with something in this kind of, casual, sum it all up in one word, wholeness that we've been talking about for the last 3 weeks. So I did. So I dug a little bit deeper. And here's what I came up with. So beneath this kind of vast diversity of religions and philosophies and sciences and metaphysical traditions, wholeness is the one idea that is remarkably consistent. All these different approaches to life conclude that reality is fundamentally whole. And however we choose to describe this human journey that we're all having, this thing called life, as Ernest Holmes called it, it's not about us becoming whole. It's about us awakening to and really kind of just remembering and expressing the wholeness that is already inherently within us. It's really our deepest true nature. So, as I've been saying over the last 3 weeks, yeah, it's been 3 weeks, wholeness is not our destination, it's our starting point. Here we are, we're already whole. We begin this journey from our wholeness. And, I kind of might add that much of our human suffering, our challenges that we face, arise when we imagine ourselves to be separate from the wholeness that we are, separate from God, separate from one another, separate from nature, or even separate from the different parts of ourselves. So our focus over the last 3 weeks has kind of looked something like, okay, wholeness is our starting point because life itself is one big whole. Call it God, Spirit, Divine Presence, Source, whatever you want. And then we become aware. We become aware of our unity with this infinite wholeness. There's no separation of life. And then we move into alignment with the whole. We align energetically with the infinite good that's within this whole. It's grounded in love, just like the song I played earlier, and filled with peace and abundance and vitality, beauty, joy. Everything exists within this whole. And we align with what we would like to express and experience in our human lives. And creative law takes it from there. And that's a whole other talk. Well, it's kind of contained within this one as well. And most of us already know these spiritual principles. We understand that life's whole, that we're one with it, and that life is perfect. You know, we know the prayer. What is it? There is only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect, and that life is my life now. We understand and believe what it means. So our task is not to gather more information. Our task is the transformation. It's getting into alignment with our wholeness, you know, that and it's the spirit of love that's within our wholeness. And that's the piece that I think I maybe unintentionally glossed over in my previous talks. However, I did talk about some of the spiritual tools, the spiritual practices that support us in getting into alignment with our wholeness. You know, I talked about gratitude and forgiveness and spiritual mind treatment. These are practices that change us. They don't change God, they change us. They move us into that vibrational resonance. You know, they change the consciousness from which we live. And when consciousness changes, our experience changes. Aligning with our wholeness is a shift in our consciousness. It puts us in what I like to call a vibrational match to what we want to experience. Ernest Holmes, our founder, called it a mental equivalent. I think it means the same thing. And what I've discovered is that this movement into alignment happens most easily, smoothly, when we're in kind of a calm, relaxed, open state, when we have no resistance to that flow of good that naturally comes through us. So the other day, I was driving somewhere. And I had already had kind of a challenging day. You know, a couple of things had come up for me in my own life, and then people in my life that I love were having some challenges. And then I'd listen to the news, which I never do because it's such a fear fest. And I'm driving and I just felt like this overall heaviness, like I was weighed down. And here I was alone in my car, and I suddenly found myself kind of tearfully pleading to some God out there in the ether somewhere, I don't to know why is there so much suffering in the world? You know, I desperately wanted to know why an all-powerful, benevolent creator would allow so much suffering. You know, I couldn't wrap my head around it in that moment because I was just so sad and so frustrated and just feeling so weighed down. And so then I just started crying, you know, which actually was a great release. You know, that energy kind of starts flowing. And then I started taking some deep breaths, you know, and I felt myself begin to calm. And I consciously brought up a feeling of peace, which always feels really spacious to me. And then I slowly began to feel the presence of God and the presence of my wholeness. And the moment began to pass. And I began to remember that suffering is not the deepest truth of life. And since I was driving, you'll be happy to know that I didn't close my eyes while I was doing all of this. But the thing is that this was a very human moment. And these moments happen to us from time to time. And I think that it's very important for us to have compassion for ourselves when they do happen. But one thing I do know, and that is when I consciously establish a pattern of thinking and feeling and being, you know, that loop, then and I live from that more often than not, grounded in the wholeness of life, grounded in my own divinity, that these moments happen much less often. And as I said, understanding wholeness isn't the difficult part. Awareness isn't even the difficult part. Most of us already know these spiritual ideas. The real task is the alignment in how we actually begin to live from what we already know. Because once we begin living in alignment with our spiritual nature, the expression piece becomes less and less about effort and just more and more about allowing. Alignment is the transformation. And we can't really force that. We kind of step into it naturally through non-resistance, which happens when we remain open and allow and when we nurture it with our spiritual practice and when we allow it to be who we are. There's this story. It was written by it's in one of his books. I don't remember, but it's M. Scott Peck, the road less traveled guy. And he tells a story about an old monastery that had fallen into disrepair, into decline. And it had once been filled with like young monks, and people would come and have their pilgrimages there. But over the years, it had become more or less kind of just an aging home for the 5 remaining monks that were there. And they had all kind of just grown discouraged, a little irritable, and the warmth and the liveliness that had once kind of brought their community together had started to disappear. So the abbot was kind of beside himself and he didn't know what to do. So he went to visit this wise abbot who lived nearby to ask him for guidance. And the rabbi listened quietly. Finally, he said, I have no advice for you, but I can tell you this, that one among you is the Messiah. So the abbot returned to the monastery and he shared the rabbi's words. And as you can imagine, the monks began wondering, what did he mean? What did he mean? Could Brother Thomas be the Messiah? He was often impatient, but he was remarkably faithful. Could it be Brother Philip? He was quiet and a little awkward, but he always appeared when somebody needed help for something. Could it be the abbot himself? And because no one really knew, each monk began treating the others with unusual reverence. And they also began treating themselves with greater kindness because maybe they were the Messiah. And soon, before you know it, visitors sensed the change and they started returning to the monastery. And young people were interested in being a part of the community again. And in time, the monastery just began to come alive again. Nothing had changed outwardly. The change happened within the consciousness of the monks. They made a decision, conscious or unconscious. They had made a decision that the way they saw each other was with reverence and care. It was sacred. They stopped kind of reducing each other to, that they have a fault or a habit or labeling them. And they began looking for that sacred presence, that sacred wholeness hidden within each of their lives. They began noticing their own wholeness as well. Really what happened is the monks moved into alignment with the truth of wholeness, with the truth of the presence of the divine. They had a shift in consciousness, and theirs was pretty unconscious, and they moved into it pretty naturally. The idea suggested by the rabbi completely shifted the way they saw each other. And while the shift in the monks happened without them even really realizing it, we can actually create that shift consciously. We can move into alignment with our wholeness. We can establish a new belief, just by deciding something new. I noticed, I got out my Science of Mind book and I was trying to find a quote about alignment from our founder, Ernest Holmes. You know what? I found one. He really didn't use the word alignment very often. I think it's more of a kind of a contemporary New Thought word. But here's what he did say. He talked about the idea of bringing thought into harmony with principle. I think that was his way of articulating alignment. We express principle by bringing our thoughts and our feelings into alignment with principle. And I've also noticed that aligning with principle is really about getting whatever is in the way of that alignment out of the way And generally, what's in the way tends to be limiting beliefs that were established somewhere in our growing up years, in our early age, and they've become such a part of the way that we engage with life that it just becomes this habit and this pattern of living that we've established. But lately, I've been listening to this guy. His name is David Bear. And he has this very practical process that I think can support us in aligning with a new belief. I've found his process pretty helpful. I've been doing it. And one of the things I like about it is that he defines a belief as a decision that we've been kind of unconsciously accumulating evidence for years, often for decades. And at the same time, we've been ignoring evidence that supports the opposite of the limiting belief. But Bear says that a belief is just a decision. And I think that's empowering for us, because if it's just a decision, well, we can just make a new decision. I can decide that is not what I want to announce to creative law. So here's kind of just a brief, I don't want to get into a whole thing. You can find him on YouTube, and he has all kinds of explanations about all of his processes, especially this one. So, but anyway, here's just kind of here's the Reader's Digest condensed version. He calls it the morning dump. And so every morning, here's what he does. He makes a list of all the limiting beliefs he holds that are contrary to how he wants to live his life. Things that are not in alignment with divine truth or wholeness. So, for example, a limiting belief might be money is scarce and hard to come by, or I'm not smart enough, young enough, talented enough to do X, Y, and Z. Or life rarely works out for me, or there's never enough time. You get the idea, the untrue stuff. So Bayer actually calls these ideas, I thought of you, Rob, ideas that don't feel good. He says, whenever we have a thought that doesn't feel good, we know it's a limiting belief. And then after he lists all his limiting beliefs, Bear creates a new belief, which is generally the opposite of the old belief. So money is plentiful and available. There's always enough time, etc. You get it. And then the next step is something I had never thought of before and never even heard of, but I found it to be really powerful. It actually has worked for me. He then starts to look for evidence that the new belief, or the new decision, if you will, is actually true. Bayer says that much of the evidence that we have that supports the new decision has been filtered out of our awareness because it wasn't congruent with the limiting belief that we've been holding for so long. But he suggests that if we sit with it for a while, we can actually activate old dormant memories that support the new belief. And I have found this to be true. And I actually have found more evidence for the new decision than I did for the limiting belief. So here's my example. I'll give you an example. One of my limiting beliefs is money is scarce and hard to come by. And my new decision is that money is everywhere. It's plentiful. And it comes to me in unusual, unexpected, and surprising ways. And I sat with this new decision. At first I thought, well, that can't possibly be true, right? But then I started remembering times when I'd received an unexpected bill, or I needed a car repair that was, I didn't know was coming. And the money showed up from places I never would have expected. And as I looked around me, like right now, money is everywhere. Money isn't scarce. There's money everywhere. I mean, think about how much money is in the world. And I have always been provided for. I've never been without food or shelter. I know there are people that have, but there is always money available. And I have to say, and I think this is the point, it completely shifted my alignment with the potential which is inherent in the wholeness of God, the source and the supply of everything. And I can feel the difference. So I just offer this as a useful tool to help us shift into alignment with what has always been true in the mind of God, or the quantum field, or whatever we want to call that divine presence where everything is sourced. Consciousness is probably a good, just life, I like to call it sometimes. And another very powerful thing that I've been working with lately is my ability to relax, to be calm, and to allow. Actually, what I'm doing is I'm practicing non-resistance in everything. And again, as soon as it doesn't feel good, I know something's up. I know I'm having resistance. I did this in the car when I had my freak out moment about human suffering. I paused and I started taking in long, deep breaths through my nose, then holding it for a few seconds and doing it again. You can pretty much do that anywhere, as long as you don't close your eyes when you're driving. But it's remarkable how much our breath can slow us down and calm us down. It's like, it's a practice of becoming calm enough to pull back from the moment and notice what we're thinking. And many spiritual traditions and teachers recommend this. This is nothing new. David Bear says that we only have two kinds of thoughts. And I like this. And I've heard this before in other ways. And so have you. But he says there are two kinds of thoughts: primal thinking and creative thinking. Primal thinking is rooted in survival, and it's kept us alive, but it hasn't helped us thrive. And then there's creative thinking, which is rooted in creation rather than protection. In Science of Mind speak, Holmes would say that our thoughts are either based in fear or in principle, the principles of love, wholeness. And not to get too far off track, but our primal thinking comes from our amygdala and our limbic system. It's our fight or flight response. But creative thinking comes from our frontal cortex, which is responsible for reasoning, creativity, curiosity, all of the good stuff that we want to feel. And it's here where we come up with clear, creative ideas, and we can't do that in a fight or flight thinking mode. But as we relax and calm, we kind of open a space where clarity and receptivity kind of start to come in. So, just to be clear, I want to make this clear. Although modern neuroscience doesn't say that our prefrontal cortex is inherently spiritual, it doesn't tell us that when we're not overwhelmed. It does tell us, but it does tell us this. It tells us that when we're not overwhelmed by some imagined or perceived threat, that it allows us to respond with greater flexibility and compassion and love and discernment. And of course, our spiritual practice strengthens these capacities. It's sort of like that common metaphor we use all the time of an old-fashioned radio. The broadcasting signal's always there. We just have to tune into the signal. And we can't get a clear signal if we're always stressed out and living in survival. The signal's always there, but we have to create an environment where we could actually tune into it. We have to bring the signal into alignment with us, and we're the receivers, right? And that's what our spiritual practice helps us to do, to align with what's always been there. Our alignment is tuning into it, and its expression is the music that begins to play as our lives, right? So living in alignment with our wholeness means that we stay tuned in, and then we remain connected, and we live from that clear signal, not the static. Because the signal of wholeness never stops broadcasting. We don't create it. We learn to tune our lives into it and to be receivers. And then, then we can sing and dance and revel in the music because it's always there. So, alignment into our wholeness. That's where we're going to live this week. That's what we're going to think about. So, with that, I'm just going to do a quick knowing that we are all living in the wholeness of God, that we are one with it. We can be nothing else. We are, as our practitioner Rob told us, magnificent, and nothing we can do will change that. So I know from that place of knowing, from that place of alignment, from that way of turning the dial in to be the receiver of that good that it expresses in our lives in magnificent and amazing ways, in unusual and unexpected and surprising ways. And I'm just grateful. I'm just grateful for that knowing. I'm grateful for that truth. I relax. I rest. I allow. And in gratitude and knowing, we simply say together, and so it is. And so it is. Oh, let's see. I was going to change to gallery so I could see all your wonderful faces. So, Lisa, I believe that you're doing our conscious giving today. I think I might be able to unmute you. Look,
There, I got it.
You got it, girl.
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, and we can hear you clearly.
I know, I can hear myself. Anyway, it's that time that we pull together with the concept of giving and remembering what Michelle said, money is everywhere. And once we know that, it allows us to become more generous ourselves in terms of knowing that all our needs are met. And therefore, it gives us opportunity to generously support this beloved center that we all love, that can use our gift of money. And so you all know the ways to give through Venmo or mailing your donation to One Heart, One Mind, Reverend Michelle at 1338 Idaho Avenue, Escondido, California, 92027.
There we go.
There you go.
What this place that is wet and warm, right?
Wet and warm.
It is today.
I can't tell yet whether
Love,
I can't tell if I'm wet because they did some refurbishing on the street, so it looks black, you know. So anyway, sacred giving. Let us share together. I give with a grateful heart, knowing that spirit is the source and substance of all supply. I joyfully participate in the circulation of abundance. My offering blesses the world and returns to me multiplied. I am grateful and I am prosperous, and so it is.
Oh, and so it is. Thank you, Lisa. I'll come back to you in just a second. I just want to, of course, we're going to do our prayer group tomorrow. We're going to do chapter 4 on Tuesday of this book, Radical Compassion. And then on Wednesday is Relane's Joyful Expectancy. And I know that she's planning on talking about intuition. So that should be fun. And then next Sunday, we'll be down at home. It'll be fun. Woo! We'll see everybody but Rob. But Rob's going to be out there having fun on the Rhine. Is it the Rhine? It's the Rhine. So we are grateful that you have the opportunity to do that. That's
fabulous.
Yeah. So Lisa, you want to pray us out, and then I have one last song here for us.
Okay. So why don't we sit together here now in this moment, in that space of presence, that one life that unites us all together, because we are in fact one. And I'm so grateful for how this service has blessed us. First with Rob reminding us that we are magnificent. And then Reverend Michelle essentially taking that message, which is our wholeness, and reminding us of the ways that we can acknowledge it, that we can get out of the way from experiencing it with using spiritual mind practice, in addition to this a new person that she has suggested another technique. And I just know that we're totally blessed with this sense of the possibility of being able to shift our beliefs and our behavior and our thoughts into the ways that most beautifully serve us and create the joy of life, which we've all experienced and which we can easily see sometimes we are not in the space of it, but that we can get there once we look at how we can align more fully with that one life, with that spirit that loves and wants for us love, beauty, peace, connection, everything good in this earthly life. And so I am so grateful for this service. I am so grateful for this community that allows us to look at it together. And I release my word into the law, knowing it is done. And we release together by saying, and so it is.
Oh, thank you, Lisa. So I have this one song that I'm going to end with that is kind of a prayer. So I just thought it was fitting. I'm going to share this with you.
God is love, moving within you. God is peace, living in me. God is here, breathe in the glory, hear the hope, see the grace, feel the touch. God is love. When life has a question, our heart knows the answer. For every closed door, we hold the key. Open your soul. There is a river flowing forever, abundant and free. God is love, moving within you. God is peace, living in me. God is here, breathe in the glory, hear the hope, see the grace, feel the touch. God is love. When fear tries to blind you and dark clouds surround you, love has a voice that calms every storm. Open your arms, love those around you. Here in this moment, your healing is born. God is love, moving within you. God is peace, living in me. God is here, breathe in the glory, hear the hope, see the grace, feel the touch. God is love, God is love, God is love, God is love. God is love, moving within you. God is peace, living in me. God is here, breathe in the glory, hear the hope, see the grace, feel the touch. Hear the hope, see the grace, feel the touch. Hear the hope, see the grace, feel the touch. God is love.
Well, that made me cry. That was so beautiful. Oh, I love Michael God. He has such an incredible voice, and you can feel that he really feels the words. He really feels the resonance. So, oh, my friends, this has just been a wonderful, wonderful time this morning. I am going to stop our recording. I feel like I'm missing something, but I don't think I am. So I'm going to go ahead and end our recording. So if you're listening to the recording, thank you for being here. So I'm just going to go ahead and my new computer is doing this a new way, which is interesting. Stop recording. There we go.